exclusive episode of Surviving the Survivor. We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
He rarely speaks, he barely moves, but is Bryan Kohberger screaming something with his body silently? That is what we're looking at tonight. What's up, STS Nation? Happy birthday, America. This is Surviving the Survivor, the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime, and we are diving deep into the mind of the accused Idaho killer, Bryan Kohberger, the guy who decided instead of potentially facing the death penalty by firing squad, he said, you know what, I'll admit to all 4 murders of the University of Idaho students, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernoodle, Madison Mogen, and of course, Ethan Chapin. And he is going to go to one of the most notorious prisons in the great state of Idaho. But we've done it all. We've done 4 shows a day, a lot of days this week, covering every single aspect, every angle, but one aspect, one angle that we have not covered is Bryan Kohberger's body language. We even had Dr. Ann Burgess on, a living legend in the world of criminal profiling. Well, now you've got another living legend right here. Dr. G Explains, Dr. J.P. Garrison from the great state of Georgia. You might know him as Dr. G Explains on YouTube. He's one of the best body language experts, and he's going to help us break this all down. What's happened, Dr. G?
Happy to be here, man. It's always fun.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Dr. Von Decay already here. Dr. Von Decay, I haven't seen you in a while, gifting us 5 memberships. We appreciate that very much. You want to make sure you get a question into Dr. G, you can give us a super chat. We are otherwise scrolling through some questions. This is not a political show. We never talk politics. Dr. G, every once in a while, will analyze politics. However, the current president announced that there could be a UFC fight on the front lawn of the White House. Probably the craziest thing any president has ever announced. Dr. G and I are both gigantic UFC fans. Dr. G, are we going to go to this if it does happen for the 250th birthday of America?
There's nothing that could possibly stop me from going to that if it happens. So I will be there.
Our wives will hate us, but
yeah.
We're going.
My wife has been very clear she will not be going. So yeah.
COE, because of the new bar, it's hard for me to actually click the videos below, but I'm going to try here. So Dr. G, we're going to, I don't know what is going on. StreamYard has reconfigured everything, but and look at this, Sherry Douglas apologizing to England for gloating about our freedom. Maybe we should feel guilty. Someone is yelling at me, Joel, Rhonda Gaines, too many shows in one day yesterday. You sound like you're getting sick. I pick up a lot of Jewish and non-Jewish mothers while hosting the show. I'm okay. I'm just a little tired. COE and I went out for a little celebratory dinner last night that we just made it through the week. But the way we're going to do this, I'm going to play. This is him, Bryan Kohberger. Then before we even get there, Dr. G, you're a psychologist. People go and complain to you about life's problems. Were you stunned when you heard this news that Bryan Kohberger was going to forego potentially a 3-month trial and say, hey, I'm just going to get up there and admit that I killed these people? What were you surprised?
I was absolutely surprised because people like him, they want control and power so badly that unless they have you dead to rights, they will fight it tooth and nail. They will lie through their teeth. So the idea that they must have had such a tight case or something coming that was so tight, and I've heard them describe it, but it must have just been impossible to fight. Otherwise, I never would have expected him to plead guilty at this point. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that he did do that. And obviously, I'm sure you're aware that the families are kind of split here. The Goncalves family in particular, they have been extremely vocal. They wanted him to face this firing squad. Obviously, there's always a big chance, especially, I mean, not only just getting the conviction, but then getting the death penalty on top of it is a very good chance it would not have happened. But if you were counseling these parents who are very upset, what would you say to them?
Well, the first thing I'd address is that this is an extremely common way to feel when prosecutors make a deal, like feeling betrayed, feeling like they're doing it out of convenience, which isn't the case, but people feel that way oftentimes. So their reaction is actually pretty much what I would expect. There'd be a mix of family members that are glad that it's over with, that don't want to be re-traumatized, that want to have it behind them, and then some that feel furious because it's bringing up all the feelings of when it first happened. So there probably are a lot of feelings that are displaced towards the prosecutors, towards the legal teams, of just rage because it feels like the all of this control that was already taken from them has been taken from them again. So I think over time that feeling will probably fade, but it's not at all surprising, particularly because they weren't expecting it, that's the reaction we're getting. I've got my own thoughts about it, but I'm not surprised how they reacted.
Yeah. You know, Idaho has the firing squad. What's interesting too, Dr. G, we'll get to the video in a second, but I love talking to Dr. G. What's interesting is Ted Bundy. It seems like he emulated himself. He looked up to Ted Bundy. He was searching Ted Bundy. He was taking pictures that looked eerily similar with a hoodie to Ted Bundy. But apparently Ted Bundy was scared to death of dying. Would that surprise you to find out that Bryan Kohberger, who now admits to murdering these four, that he too is afraid of dying?
No, that's the one and only leverage you have against this guy, is the idea of death is just so horrifying to these people, because that is the absolute loss of control. And if you think about, for most people, if they committed something like this, they would never be able to sleep again. They would be haunted by this every single day. If you were even slightly normal, if you even had one toe in humanity, you could never live with yourself after this. But people like him see people, and this is sort of a disgusting way to put it, but it's true. They see people as a collection of parts. Like, they don't see them as people. So the idea of what he's done, this doesn't bother him. He's proud of it. He would love to show it off. But the idea of him dying, totally unacceptable. That is something he would never abide by. So that I think is truly the literal only way you could ever get this man to confess, was the real chance that he thought he could die.
And that's why people say the death penalty is actually a positive thing. Sometimes it's a bargaining chip, and it got us to where we are today. Just following up, now that I started talking about it instead of showing, we're going to get to the body language. Don't worry, we're going to get there. But I asked, so we had Dr. Ann Burgess on, who you know is a famous criminal prof. She started the field of criminal prof. She's also close, if not 90, and has 17 times the amount of energy that I have, which I don't know what that says about me or her. I don't know. But I asked her this question. I mean, this guy did this November 13th in the early morning hours, and he just finished the semester of school and then drove. If I had to kill stepped on an ant today, I would be upset. You know, like, I just don't like, my kid wanted to go fishing, and we accidentally caught a fish. We threw it back in, but I couldn't stomach catching a fish and having the thing die. How did this guy finish the semester? Like, what is going on in his head?
Well, he probably felt powerful and frankly joyful that he had done it. He was probably feeling a little bit anxious. Like, I think he has some capacity to feel anxiety, because he was probably a little afraid he was going to get caught, but he was probably running on the excitement of what he had done. It's so hard to get in the mind of people like this. I mean, it took a lot of years in the field before I really truly feel like I understood in any real way what it must be like for these people. And they do not share the same perspective on the world at all, because the vast majority of us connect through relationships in one way or the other. Like, everything we do in one way or another has to do with the relationships that we form. Whether it's watching sports or, whatever. I mean, it's all connected, but people like this do not understand that. There is no concept of interconnectedness other than, what can other people do for me? How can they make me feel pleasure? How can they make me feel what I want to feel? How can they make me feel powerful? So, yeah, I worked 20 years ago. I worked at a college counseling center. And so it's like, people couldn't finish their semester because they broke up with their boyfriend. The idea of murdering 4 people and finishing it, it's inhuman. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'd be that guy. I couldn't finish.
But
yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, somebody had made a comment of that, it's for the best that he has, that he's basically going to be in for life. And I do have to say, the one thing that I don't know if the families of the victims have thought much about this, but part of the reality is he could have gone free. And that puts everybody else at risk. It's a public safety issue, not just justice for the families, but him getting out again could very well, in a very literal sense, put other people at risk. And that's one of the things that some people may be discounting, because even on my videos, people are still commenting, I still don't think he did it. It was a setup. You never know who the hell's going to be on a jury. You never know. And so it's a huge risk to when you have the chance to put him away forever to not do it.
Yeah. I see a question about his tie knot. We're going to get into all this. Canine Catherine, one of the OGs and just an amazing person. This is why I say best guest, better community. She even, I don't know if I can say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. She sent STS something, and it's been so busy I haven't even been able to look at it. But that's the kind of caliber community we have. But she's saying, Dr. G, do you suspect BK has a missing or damaged amygdala? And for those who don't know what the amygdala is, Dr. G, explain that.
Okay. So the amygdala connects fear and memory. All right. So like if you have PTSD, your amygdala becomes much more sensitive. So things that you remember, things that you've been through will connect with the part of your brain that activates emotions and make you feel a lot. So people with anxiety disorders actually have sensitive amygdalas. People with psychopathy have underactive amygdalas. It's not missing because he does feel anxiety. I've seen him look scared before, but it is underactive. And I think that's true of all psychopaths. You have to have an underactive amygdala. And there are certain people that do have underactive amygdalas. So, so the idea of the part of the way that we learn is that we do things, we feel strongly, and then our brain catalogs and goes, okay, don't do that again or do that again. And if your amygdala doesn't work properly, you just don't feel things in that way. So yes, I'm sure his is dysfunctional in some way.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. And that is, if you break your arm, you take an x-ray. If you were going to MRI or CAT scan, I guess, his brain, and see I see the photos and all that in the studio. We're getting there. But if you were going to, I guess, CAT scan the brain, would his brain look completely different than a quote unquote healthy person's brain?
Yes, absolutely. There'd be certain areas that just are underactivated. So you'd look at a healthy person, you would see certain areas that are lit up, and for him there would be parts that were just underactive. There might be some other parts that are overactive, but more it would be underactivity. Despite the fact that people like that are psychopaths tend to be impulsive. And I want to go back to, you had a comment just a second ago that I can't believe people thought he was innocent.
Yeah.
People still think he is innocent. That's what's blowing my mind, is that there are I don't want to say a lot, but there have been more than one through comments on my videos saying, I still think he was framed. His parents are being threatened. Just wild stuff. It's incredible.
Yeah, Dr. G is too nice to say what I'm about to say. So these conspiracy theorists are completely out of their friggin' minds, and we're seeing it happen more frequently because of, I think, the proliferation of social media. There's this tribalism, not just in politics, but in trials and guilt versus innocence, all this stuff. COE's having a heart attack. I'm going to say something right now that I'm not supposed to say. But what do you say to these? This guy just came out and publicly he confirmed no one pressured him. The attorney is all his own decision. Yep. All the evidence points to him, and people say, no, he didn't do it. What's wrong with those? Forget Kohberger for me. What's wrong with these people?
I mean, I would say take a break from true crime for a little bit if you're struggling to see that somebody who confesses actually did the crime. Like it's I don't want to speculate too much, but I would really think that, like, if you genuinely believe that this man is still innocent, that, just take a break from true crime, watch something else for a while, come back to it. There's a lot of things that could be issues there, but I find that concerning when I read those things.
Yeah. I love hearing this, by the way, that we're one of the better chats. I got to be honest. I do YouTube, but I don't really consume YouTube because I like to just do my own thing and not focus on other people, except Dr. G, of course. So thank you for saying that. We try to keep things on the up and up and keep the chat a nice, happy place. Look at this. Happy 4th of July from Germany to us. So thank you. It's our... what is this, 249th birthday, Dr. G?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Next year, UFC main event.
Yeah, I'll be in Washington, D.C. Hopefully you will too.
It doesn't matter how much that costs. We'll do the show on the front lawn of the White House. This is not politics, by the way. This is just our love for the fight game. We will be there. STS Nation is the best. So, do you think someone asked this too? And then we're getting to the video. Dr. G is going to break down the video in a minute. I'm just teasing it out, making you guys suffer and wait. That's my own, whatever it is, dysfunction, pathology, whatever it is. Do you think a lot of people were asking Ann Burgess this? Here's a guy with a perfectly squeaky clean record, and he goes out and murders 4 people. Do you think it is the first time he has killed, or do you think we'll find out that there was something previously?
I actually think this is the first time because he was so sloppy. He was so excited doing it. I think if he had done it before, he would have gotten away with it this time, actually. So, no, I don't think he's killed before. I think he probably has wanted to, but I don't think he's done it.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number of Ted Bundy's victims, but do you think he feels like he was successful? I think he looked up to him, but he didn't come close to Ted Bundy. Or do you think
No,
he feels like he's a failure?
the things that Ted Bundy did were so beyond description. I don't even on my videos about him, I don't talk about what he actually did because it's so horrific. Yeah, as far as what he accomplished is in his horrible behavior, it's not even close to what Ted Bundy did. But I'm sure if that's where he was headed, I'm not surprised that he murdered women because that was Ted Bundy's MO. And I think Ted Bundy killed over 40 women, I think.
Yeah.
And the things that he did were beyond horrific. But yeah, it's I'm sure he was wanting to head that direction. No doubt.
STS Nation, let us know the number of Ted Bundy victims. Someone asked me the other day, just like Chris Watts fans, you got Kohberger fans, and someone asked me why Chris Watts hasn't been attacked in prison. I'm going to get to that in a second. But Carolyn Montana girl here with that. I'm telling you, my eyes have just deteriorated. I can't tell if that's a dog or a cat. But Dr. G, do parents of serial killers recognize their child is a killer, or do they tend to stay in denial? Interesting question.
Oh, that's another one that's kind of split down the middle. There are parents who will identify that there's something that's going on with their kid. Their kid's a little strange or whatever it is, and just not know how to help. And there's some that are just outright in denial. I've evaluated people where I've said outright, like, your child is dangerous, and you need to address that. We need to pay attention to that. And I've had them just get mad and leave and never come back. So it's a split. Some parents will recognize it, some don't. But the one thing that serial killers will always tell you, or murderers like Kohberger, it is satisfying to finally be able to say that clearly, by the way, now that he's confessed all this crap. But it's is that they're always going to identify themselves as victims. So they will always tell you about having a horrible childhood. They will always tell you about all these awful things they endured. And oftentimes it's not even true. Their backgrounds, the backgrounds of serial killers, are oftentimes pretty similar to the backgrounds of your average person. Like the percentage of people that have been through different types of abuse, that kind of stuff. It's not to be that different, actually, despite what they'll tell you.
Yeah, and by the way, he was a recovering heroin addict, but unfortunately, there's a lot of heroin addicts. 99.9% of them aren't going around killing people, right? So that you wouldn't consider that like a factor in why he was doing this, right?
I would consider that a factor in why he was doing heroin in the first place, probably because he's impulsive and he can't figure out how to feel what everybody else feels. When you are a psychopath and you see the rest of the world enjoying themselves, feeling connected, having fun, you just don't feel it. The way that you get excited is through extreme means. The way that you feel something is ways that none of us can relate to. So yeah, the leading to heroin, not having an issue doing that, probably has more to do with the fact that he's a psychopath. Not that most heroin users are, but I think that is probably what took him to it rather than the other way around. It can, long-term abuse of hard drugs like that can affect the way the brain functions, but I don't think it turned him into this by any stretch.
That's a great question right here. And these questions are amazing today. I was just expecting that we're going to dive into the video, and I want to ask Dr. G about this photo in a second. But from S, lowercase s, a humble human being, they don't even do uppercase. Dr. G, why am I so interested or obsessed with this case when I'm not even into true crime? It worries me. Should S be worried that they're interested?
No, I mean, most people, I think, are drawn to true crime because it helps the world feel more predictable. The more of this that I watch, the more I learn about people, then I can somehow protect myself. That's all unconscious. It's not like people think that, but that's what the unconscious mind tends to say. So there is a draw to it, and there is a curiosity about it because in some ways you feel like there are benefits to it, that somehow that learning more about this will ultimately help you protect yourself and identify people like Bryan Kohberger and stay the hell away from them.
Yeah. By the way, let me talk smack for one moment. Just this week, just in the last 4 days, we've had a former Idaho State Supreme Court justice
Yeah.
on the show. We have had Dr. Ann Burgess, one of the founding pioneers of criminal profiling. We have Dr. G on. We had a witness in the Diddy trial who was one of the escorts, the Punisher. If you think anyone out there has better guests than us, you are mistaken. Maybe your amygdala is not firing on all cylinders if you don't think we have the best guests in true crime. So make sure you like, subscribe, join our Patreon, and check out Dr. G as well. Dr. G puts out amazing videos, and Dr. G is kind enough to come in here on a 4th of July holiday and do this. Here in Miami, it is going to be pouring rain, so my 4th of July might be just watching movies all night long. But tell your friends about the show. It's the best gift that you can give us. From Chris H. Could a brain scan ever be entered as evidence to explain a person's actions?
I would say for your average case, it should not be. I do not think they are reliable enough. I do not think the brain scan should be entered unless there's like a tumor or something like that, maybe. Because in that case, that would be some structural thing you can look at. But when it comes to overactivity versus underactivity, there's far too much variation. We can say, hey, look, there's some patterns here. 100%, I would never want that to be entered as evidence personally. I think it's kind of like polygraphs, where it's like it's probably right, but it's not correct enough of the time to where you should enter it as evidence.
Yeah. And I know, you haven't diagnosed him, you never talked to him, but there was this whole issue, and some people say no way. Others, the public defender said he's on the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
If this went to trial, that could have been a mitigating factor for the death penalty portion. It might have prevented him. So this whole argument from Steve Goncalves may, in fact, have been a moot point. But if he truly is on the autism spectrum, I mean, how does that factor in, if at all? Because again, there's a lot of people on the autism spectrum. Most of them are very they are what's the word I'm looking for? They are in society. They're actually helping build society. They're good, smart people. But what would an autism diagnosis mean here?
Well, a lot of that would be, what deficits does autism bring to a case like this, right? Like, what deficiencies does autism have? So sometimes you have motor deficiencies. Sometimes you have deficiencies when it comes to emotional expression, verbal expression. It's obviously it's a big spectrum. So if the deficiencies do not impair his daily functioning in a way that would somehow affect his ability to know the difference between right and wrong, it has no real bearing on it, because he goes to college, he's functional in that sense. Having autism is not a mitigating factor for murder, so I think it's irrelevant, frankly, other than it'll help us understand some of his behaviors or some things like that. But as far as whether or not he should get the death penalty, it should have zero impact on that.
Nice. Jory here. Thank you both for saying as much as possible about the Kohberger conspiracy theorists. And hey, I'm not going to pronounce that. They're disturbed and make chats miserable. So thank you for that. And I agree with you. Jerry Michael, another question or two, then we'll get to the video. How does the fact that he was a PhD student in criminology play into what he did? He wasn't a stupid man. I assume that was a very sort of calculated decision. That's something he wanted to study.
Sure. Yeah, so there's definitely weirdos that are attracted to every field. I went to school with some of them, so I know that sometimes, that people that are drawn to what their problem is, frankly. I saw that with therapists that are, so yeah, I'm not shocked at all. Probably thought it would make him a better kind of criminal.
I see Ned Smith, the woman with the bun in the chat, who ghosted us for a while. And I saw earlier, she said, Joel, do you eat red meat? Because I was talking about I couldn't even fish or kill an ant. And I know the point she was trying to make is that if you eat, I don't eat that much red meat. I try to stay somewhat on the healthy side. And I don't know. Tell us about that. Yeah, we're going to get there, COA probably. Anyway, Ned Smith, I know the point you're making. I'm a wuss. I would never, if I had to live like in 1300s, I would have just probably died at like 11 from anorexia, because I wouldn't have killed anything. I would have just been eating leaves, and then I would have died. But speaking of veganism, which I would not have been a vegan. So Dr. G, in this photo, I'll tell you what I see. Someone pointed out, I don't know about the tie knot. They say the tie knot was very tightly wound here, but his eyebrows are definitely shaved down. Also, I said this yesterday. He looks like he's getting ready for his yearbook photo. You know, he's all shaved,
Yeah.
hair nice and
Yes.
cut. He got a beautiful new haircut.
Yeah.
The iron shirt. What do you see here? Someone just said anger. Someone said dead eyes. What does the body language experts see in this photo?
I did honestly, like, I'm glad I've been looking at you as we've been talking, because looking at this thing creeps me out. Like, his like, it's you know, to me, I see somebody who he knows that he's intimidating other people when he looks at them. So the idea of a pose like this, I imagine that he knows that it has an intense gaze, and this is what he does to people oftentimes when he's talking to them or when he's looking at them. I've seen this in court. He just stares. He doesn't blink, and so those little micro expressions that most of us have, you know, we scoot around, we look around, those kinds of things. He doesn't experience that. Like when we talk about the amygdala, it signals us to, hey, look away for a second. None of that stuff. So he just looks intensely. So he does tend to look into cameras. He does tend to look like this. And I think he probably has an idea that he's going to look intense. I think he wants to. I think he thinks that looking intense and looking creepy is powerful. So I imagine that, well, he probably doesn't want to look creepy, but I think he wants to look menacing. So I'm not surprised that he looks this way.
And what about the eyebrows? So, you know, he was one of the surviving roommates described the person as having bushy eyebrows. And so, I
Yep.
mean, they are shaved down. Why would he do that? Wouldn't he be proud and want to show off those bushy eyebrows as, hey, I was the guy?
Well, I think that this goes back to that idea of being like in a to feeling the need to be in control. He wants to be very clean cut. You know, this is his moment to shine when he gets to confess. So I think he wanted to look as good as possible. And he probably, if he's probably somebody who has not been proud of his eyebrows, given how bushy they are. Maybe he feels like this was a chance to look good for the cameras or something like that. So I imagine he did that as an aesthetic, a positive aesthetic choice, along with the sides of the head and all that stuff.
We should all send him those Groucho Marx glasses with the very bushy eyebrows once he gets to prison, just to annoy the crap out of him. La Mesa Filipino Food Club. Personally, I see excitement, like almost turned on and engaged, but also under control. Is that accurate?
He could be excited. There's nothing in the body language that specifically would indicate that. I wouldn't be surprised if there were elements of this that excited him, though, but he's not showing that specifically. Doesn't mean he's not feeling it, though.
Mm. This comment here, this is interesting to me, from Sassy Pants. He didn't want his parents to testify. That is some people's hypothesis as to why maybe he pleaded guilty. And they said yesterday, Dr. G, he made zero. His family was in the courtroom. He did not look at them.
Yeah.
What's going on there? If this is a guy that can murder 4 people and then finish out the semester, but he's got enough care in the world to not want his parents to testify, what kind of contradiction is that?
Regardless of the ability to form relationships, serial killers, murderers, all of them, they're still affected by their relationship with their parents. You look at a guy like Edmund Kemper. I don't know how familiar you are with all these people.
Yeah.
He was a real freak show when it came to his mother. I mean, he murdered his grandparents. He murdered his mother. I mean, he was extreme, but despite the fact that he would be similar to Kohberger in the sense that he doesn't seem to form relationships, meaningful relationships, well, he doesn't care that much about them. But there's something about during our formative years being around our parents, there is some bond there. There is the capacity to feel maybe some degree of shame, probably not guilt or remorse, but shame possibly, or embarrassment. So I think that if anybody is going to affect him in an emotional way, it would probably be his parents. That wouldn't be shocking to me.
Yeah. D-Nexus or the Nexus says this man is terrified of death. COE, drop that for a minute. Look at this picture. Look at it. That's like the court reporter, very bottom right corner with the white hair. And look at her looking up at him. That's a wild photo. And she looks like she is, whatting her pants. She looks scared. Like, and look at him. Dr. G, we do the Donna Adelson trial. She said she put on a third of her body weight in jail. And that's not the body shame, but most people with a high carb diet are getting bigger in jail. This guy looks like he's trimmed down, and he looks fit. And he's a big dude. Does that surprise you that he's probably doing jail workouts and staying in shape somehow?
Actually, no, that doesn't surprise me. I think that how he presents is probably really important to him. And it looked like he has, and I can't remember with his history if he has scoliosis or something, but his back is actually pretty hunched over. And so I don't know if he's got some physical issues or something like that, but the fact that he's staying in shape is not surprising to me. I think that's very, very much fits along with how clean cut he is during this.
This is fast. I could talk about this for 1,000 hours, which maybe we'll do because Dr. G only has to leave tonight. So we've got like 5 hours ahead.
As long as you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I love Dr. G. Dreamcatcher. Dr. G, I have a TBI, traumatic brain injury, and my front left lobe is damaged. Inhibition. Do you think the substances could have played a part in damaging his brain over the years? Happy 4th of July from Liverpool. By the way, condolences. I don't know his name, but the soccer player who was killed in that horrific crash a week after being married. That was a horrible story. Him and his brother were killed in a car accident. He was a star player for Liverpool. But I mean, back to that TBI question, you sort of addressed it, but is that enough to turn someone into a quadruple homicide, quadruple killer?
No, but it could make him feel a little bit less. Chronic heroin use in particular, a lot of substances, by the way, outside of MDMA and some of the psychedelic ones, don't tend to have much of a permanent impact, which is surprising. But the heroin can make it so that your amygdala does underfunction, but not in that sense. It's not like all of a sudden that you're going to want to hurt people or that you're going to be disinhibited in that way. So I still think that the impact it would have on it would be marginal. I don't think that that's what caused this, nor do I think not using it would have prevented it. It just might make how he feels be a little bit different.
And this is the thing. Sean Diddy Combs, when he was acquitted on the most serious charges this week, he got down and prayed. He didn't have a problem beating Cassie Ventura up, but then he went into some kind of prayer pose. Kindness Matters says, do most inmates find religion? I'm reading the comments, COE, as she removes it. But Dr. G, is he the kind of guy? He's a vegan, so I guess he's got some, I don't know, some beliefs. But you think this is the kind of guy that finds religion? I guess most notably, what that I can remember is the son of Sam. He became like a born again Christian in
he was Jewish, wasn't he? And,
yeah.
So here was a lot. Religion tends to be about as important to these guys as what it can do for them. So if it somehow gives them status or somehow gets them interviews or what, or somehow helps them mitigate the idea that, that there is, well, particularly with Christianity, the idea of redemption is such a big part of that. It's not surprising that they come to that, because then that's an ultimate power move. They can cross their arms and go, well, I've been redeemed, so what are you going to do about it? It sucks for you. It doesn't matter that I murdered 50 people. I'm now, on a better path. So it doesn't surprise me when a lot of these folks talk about religion. I question how authentic many of them are.
Yeah. Nick, this comment is not what I'm laughing at. Nancy Lane in the chat says, a UFC fight at the White House. I recommend you guys watch the movie Idiocracy. Again, it's not a political statement. We just are both fight fans. I said at the beginning, it's probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. But with that said, I think it's going to happen. And Dr. G and I will be on the front lawn of the White House. Our wives will divorce us next year, but it might be worth it for those 2 or 3 hours. La Mesa Filipino Food Club here. COE, let's put that photo back up. I think he resembles Timothy McVeigh. And you know what? I sort of see it here. What do you think, Dr. G?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Oklahoma City bombing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very similar profile for sure.
And then, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, I'm sorry.
No, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's look at this real quick. I want to show you something. So that's obviously him trying to beat Ted Bundy here.
Yeah.
Now, let me just get rid of this comment. So here's him in court, right? Court. Pay attention to the shirt. Pay attention to the shirt. Pay attention to the shirt. Maybe it's a little bit different, but this is that selfie the morning of the murders.
Yeah.
This happened after the murders. Shirt. This is the shirt from court. You guys think it's the same shirt? It looks like a touch different color.
Color, but it's the same style. The small collar, buttoned without a tie here, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But,
and then besides that, this is probably one of the craziest killer photos you'll ever see. This is the morning of them after the murders happen. This guy's in a shower, outside the shower, but you get what I'm saying. And he's giving the thumbs up. What do you make of this photo?
I mean, I think that he's probably feeling some sense of victory at this point. So the idea that I can't remember why he took this picture, but the idea that he's trying to memorialize this in some sense is not surprising. People that do these things oftentimes keep relics or do stuff that's unnecessary. So this could very well be that kind of thing. Maybe he was planning on doing that after every one of his murders. Who knows?
Look at this. I'm glad the U.S. took their country away from my country, the United Kingdom. We can't look after our own country. Never mind your wonderful country. We're probably in the same position as you, Veronica Seddon, but we appreciate the uh, the gesture, I guess. Here we go. One more question, and we'll get to the video.
Yeah.
La Mesa Filipino food. Actually, I lied because I have another comment or question afterwards. But
Sure.
Dr. G, do you think BK falls into the incel category in your opinion? My gut says that he doesn't hate all women. I think he respects who he deems a professor, woman. Think he hates those he might be attracted to, but he maybe respected Dr. Catherine Ramsland. What do you think? Incel or not an incel?
As much of an incel, as anybody could be, I would imagine. So yeah, I'd say that's a pretty fair label. So I don't think anybody truly hates all women, but I think for people that have an issue with them, there may have been some people that he gave a pass to, but I think generally speaking, if you think that he respected people, you might be shocked at what was going on inside of his head. So I would imagine that women in authority, professors and whatnot, there was probably, whether he smiled at them and got along with them or should have respected them, you might be surprised at how little he actually did.
Yeah, this photo is creepy as hell because he looks so happy underneath, like he's as much joy as he can show.
Yeah, 'cause
Here, yeah,
you
go
see
ahead.
the wrinkle next to the eyes. That's what we call a Duchenne smile. I've never
Uh-huh.
seen him like have an authentic smile, but he's got a lot of the right features for a real smile, and that's disturbing.
What is a Duchenne smile?
So, like, when you smile and you're feeling it, the sides, you have wrinkles on the sides of your eyes, the way that the corners of your mouth go up. It all happens in sequence. Like when somebody says smile and your mouth
Mhm.
just goes up, that's not a Duchenne smile. That's just like for a picture or
Mm,
whatever. But a Duchenne smile is the whole face bunching up in a specific way.
mm. From Fire Fee Crispin here. Thank you so much. In a witness statement, this would be the victim impact statement. What could you say or do that would really affect him since he doesn't feel, I'm new to the channel. Great
Yeah.
to have you and tell your friends about it. Thanks for being here. So if you're delivering a victim impact statement
Yeah.
and you want to really get to him, how do you do it?
If you could find a way to make him feel powerless or make him feel, if you just could focus on the fact that you're going to be spending the rest of your life in prison and you're never going to enjoy your life, like that would probably make him mad. But as far as like, you have hurt my family, look at what you've done to us, he's going to love that. Like, look at, and so victim impact statements they're great for the public. They're not great for these guys because they are looking at their work. They are loving what they're seeing. So that, unfortunately, that's what people have a hard time understanding with true psychopaths, because we're so affected when we see people really suffer. They love people suffering. There is nothing more that they would enjoy than to see somebody suffer. So you see family suffering and crying in pain. Look what you've done. That's it's like going to front row tickets to a movie for them. Like, it's amazing. So yeah, there's nothing in that regard that they're going to say that's going to have any negative impact on him, as frustrating as that is. Just, hey, you're going to be in prison the rest of your life. Good luck. That's about as much as you're going to say that'll make him mad.
Look at this. 45 years ago, 4th of July, Kathy Wearley got married. Today's our 45th anniversary. Happy anniversary. Still good in the world. Dr. G, you're the boss, that's for sure. I'll say it now. Hybristophilia is romantic and or sexual interest in people who commit crimes. It's a Dr. Bricado word. That's the word I didn't want to say earlier. This person says he's a demon. Gang in prison. I'm glad you brought up this last thing. Then we're going to look at the video. Bryan Kohberger, he's set to spend the rest of his life in one of America's worst prisons, a maximum security hellhole that faces accusations of feces smeared cages, brutally violent guards, riding inmates, and a biohazard ventilation system. They say that the ventilation system is literally a biohazard. He's now 30 years old. It's going to be the same prison as Chad Daybell, and then on the women's side, Lori Vallow Daybell as well. It is the Idaho Maximum Security Institution, IMSI, the Idaho Maximum Security Institution. He's going to be there for the rest of his life, and he's probably going to be in isolation. How's he going to like or not like that experience, Dr. G?
It'll probably drive him insane over a number of years. Being in isolation, living by yourself voluntarily in a cabin in the woods for a few years will drive you nuts. Being in prison in solitary for that long, you will lose your mind. Somebody asked if he'll join a gang. Probably not, because he'll spend all of his time in solitary. If he was in general population or whatever, he likely would if he was going to be in there for life. But Yeah, I mean, he'll probably just go insane. And right now, he's still feeling a little bit powerful. There's still cameras on him. If somebody goes and starts interviewing him or wants to write a book on him and starts interacting with him, that excitement will come back. BTK is very much shown that's exactly what they're like, man. He loves the attention. I suspect that Kohberger probably would too. But the attention's going to fade, and then life will be pretty miserable. So.
Yeah, and I guess if you're delivering a victim impact statement, that's what I would focus on. That you're going to rot in there. You're going to have no control. You're going to be told what to do.
Yeah.
Man, I would tee off on this guy if I could. Thankfully, I don't have to. Captain Rhett Snuggler. Last question, then to the video, and then we'll take some more questions on the other side. Dr. G, thoroughly enjoy your channel. Who doesn't? What might be going through the minds of the defendant's parents, and do you think they knew? Again, Kohberger's parents. Listen, I'm not going to harp on it. Everyone's a victim here, and this guy's sister, mother, the father's a little shady, but they don't. They're I'm sure tortured by it. But what do you think's going on in their minds?
Once he was accused of it, I would be surprised if there wasn't part of them that went maybe, that said, nah, that it's possible. I would, when you're around somebody like that, particularly with his history, if I was to just purely in a purely speculative way, I would think it's very possible that they may have suspected it. Not before it happened. I don't think they were thinking our son's going to be a killer. Most people don't think like that, regardless of how strange their kid is. But I do think that once he was accused of it, and once the evidence started coming out, I would guess that they probably had some idea that it was true. But I will say, when you said with my channel, who doesn't enjoy it? I'll tell you who doesn't, which is Bryan Kohberger and his old defense attorney, because I was in one of their legal filings, which I don't know if I told you about that.
No. Tell us.
Quick story. So, the whole argument they shouldn't have cameras in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Well, my videos were part of what was cited as to why they shouldn't. They basically said that, they cited my video by name, by channel, and all that, and basically said that, I was putting him under too much scrutiny. And it was a specific video too. It was a really good one. So I think it was funny because at the time it only had like 25,000 views, where you had millions of views elsewhere.
Well, hold on, plug that. Where do we find that video?
You can watch it. I redid it actually recently. So like 2 days or 3 days ago, I did one where I talk about his chilling body language. So I cover the same content, but it's just an updated version of it.
All right, well, check it out on Dr. G Explains. Markless Guy here. He just gifted 10 Surviving the Survivor memberships. Also one of the more generous communities. I was in the Reddit chat when this guy mentioned that the killer had left a knife sheath behind. A lot of people think he was Papa Rogers. Not long after the murders, it left a chill down my spine. Dr. G, in the Dateline episode, they mentioned Surviving the Survivor, and they hinted that, he was watching our show. They didn't have actual definitive facts, but do you think he was watching you and watching us and watching others in the months before, in the weeks, 7 weeks before he was caught?
He had to have been, Joel, because our views, just frankly, particularly then, we were not getting that many views to where we should have been even a main thought in this stuff, right? There were videos out there that were getting millions of views. Mine was not one of them. I don't think STS, the views, the stuff covering him probably was either. So I think he was consuming everything. So not just us, but I think he was consuming as much stuff about him as humanly possible.
Yeah, and we had it wasn't us, it was our guests, as always. It was Dr. Ann Burgess and Gary Bricado, and they profiled him before he was caught. And they basically hit the nail on the head. They called the kind of person it was going to be. It was Bryan Kohberger. So maybe he was watching and went, oh crap. One other thing, this is the 73rd one other thing before we get to the video, but the knife sheath. This is a guy who studied criminology. What if you had a guess, if you had to hypothesize why he left that knife sheath? Ann Burgess said maybe he did it on purpose to get caught. I can't see that, but why would that knife sheath have been there?
I disagree with her on that. The knife sheath was there because he had fantasized about this so much, and he was so excited, and he ended up murdering more people than he thought he would. He just forgot. He's very meticulous. He's a smart guy, so he just kind of assumed that I think he would get away with it, and that he'd covered all of his tracks. He had I guarantee you, he had a very specific idea of what he wanted to do. It didn't go exactly as planned, which just messed things up, and he forgot it. It's as simple as that. He is so meticulous. He was like throwing out his trash and like neighbors' trash cans and stuff. Like this guy really does not want to get caught. So no, I absolutely do not think he wanted to get caught. I think that the excitement he felt was so extreme that he just lost track of it. Simple as that.
Yeah, Bill Thompson said everyone's got a little bit of like crud in their car. His car was spotless. They couldn't find a thing. Some have more crud than others, like the COE's car. Annalie Finch, enjoying the collaboration with Dr. G. Thank you, Annalie. Maybe we're going to, Dr. G and I have talked a long time about doing more of this, so I'd love to do that. I always do this at the top, so I apologize, but these are the victims, the most important. You've got Kaylee at the top, Maddy Mogen, top right. You've got Ethan Chapin, bottom left, and Xana Kernoodle, bottom right. It's all about them. And now, I never ever use the word closure, but we've got a person who is now going to be sentenced to the rest of his natural life for committing these crimes for seemingly no other reason than to just get off on killing these people, which is sickening. And do you think, Dr. G, that he was targeting people? Say that he was targeting Maddy Mogen, top right. Do you think he had a specific person that he was looking to get?
Oh, sure. I'm sure. Like I said, this I suspect, even though he'll never honestly talk about it, so we'll never know the true story. I think he had a very specific and obsessive idea about a person, and he thought of a very specific way that it would go. So I think he had a very, very meticulous plan. I'm sure he had very specific reasons for who he chose, and I do think he had a specific person in mind. Absolutely.
All right. With that said, I'm going to now pull up the video of Bryan Kohberger pleading guilty. Let's drop the comments for a moment. I'm going to pull this up. Dr. G will sort of talk over it, and we hit something big. I'll go back and rewind it. And we will do that for a few different videos, including a traffic stop. But here is him, the moment of truth, pleading guilty to the murders of the four beautiful people we just looked at. Here we go.
Taylor, have you had sufficient time to discuss this case and all of its ramifications with your client?
I have, Your Honor.
Have you discussed fully with him his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Can you pause for 1 second?
Yes, Your Honor.
I think.
And have you?
There are a couple of things I didn't point out, even in the video that I did analyzing this, but the way that he looks at his attorney, I think, is very interesting. Like, that's one of the few times he actually tries to connect with somebody.
I'm going to go right back. I'm going to go back silently here and see if I can. Yeah. I'd like to get the judge's body language because he looks like he's so annoyed.
Fully with him, his rights, defenses, and possible consequences to him of the guilty plea.
Right there.
Yeah, he does not move much when he doesn't have to. I compared him to Chad Daybell, who, if anybody watched, was pretty much a slug during all of his stuff. He just sits there and doesn't move. Kohberger is very similar in a lot of ways, but with his attorney, he will look at her. He gets very intense when it comes to looking at her. So I think that's not. I think that tells us a little bit about how he feels about his attorney, and he reacts strongly to her at times. So I don't know if he's, how he feels about her, but it seems it's probably no coincidence that his attorney right now is female.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. A blonde female, which is who he seemed to have been attracted to. I would be scared to death if I was Ann Taylor. But and he only has female attorneys. Do you think he potentially requested that?
Yeah, absolutely. I really would expect that that's exactly what he requested.
Wow, look at this. Dr. G, yes, he looks at her like he's trying to get into her soul. So intense. Okay, here we go. We're going to play it just like that. Dr. G will stop us or we'll go back. Here we go.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you been able to do all the discovery you feel necessary?
Yes, Your Honor.
And have you informed your client of the importance of providing the court truthful and accurate answers in taking this plea today?
I have.
Have you apprised your client of any and all offers and counter offers and answered his questions about those?
Yes.
Do you consent to the entry of the plea today?
I do.
Just pause for 1 second.
Mr. Kohberger, I need to ask you some questions.
So, a couple of things that I'm sure everybody's noticing, but his body language is so stiff, right? Like he's very rigid, very controlled. If you just watch everybody around him, after a few seconds, people look around or adjust a little bit. He doesn't at all. I mean, he is laser focused listening on that, and he is trying to take in everything. He does not want to miss a thing. He wants to get every single detail. This is why I talk about how meticulous he is. He really, because I mean, you watch enough of this. Sometimes the person is like looking off into nowhere, is just staring at their lap. Sometimes people just don't care because they just want to get it over with. Like, he is really in it. And it's just interesting how intense he is.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, he's sitting with his hands like on his thighs.
Yeah.
It's just a very, like you said, stiff and odd posture here. Carolyn, Montana girl, why do you think he didn't re-enter the house, Dr. G, to get the knife sheath? Joel, please have Dr. G on regularly. He is a true best guest. If he's willing to do it, I'll have Dr. G on every day of the week. We'll just do the Dr. G and Joel show if he's willing. But Dr. G, some people think, I was reading this earlier. I don't believe this because they have a pretty firm timeline, but some people think that the murders were actually committed a little bit earlier and he was going back to pick up the knife sheath. But in any event, do you think once he realized the knife sheath wasn't with him, what went on in his head? Was it like an OS moment? And he just, did that become an obsessive thought? Oh my God, I left the knife sheath. Oh my God, I left the knife sheath.
Absolutely. Because the one of the rare moments that we get of his body language reacting to when they're talking about, they went through his trash and got his father's DNA or something like that. That's one of the few times you see him react and start contorting his mouth and stuff. The mess ups he's going to be obsessing over that for the rest of his life. That knife sheath is going to bother him for the rest of his life. So yeah, I'm sure immediately that, if he probably doesn't feel a lot of fear, but he would have been feeling it then. And I'm sure because it was so meticulously planned, the idea of going back was unacceptable. I don't think there's any chance he was going back when they saw him. I really don't.
I'd like to consult on these victim impact statements. If I was them, I'd order a knife sheath and dangle it in front of his eyes and say, "This is why you're going away the rest of your life, you dumb idiot."
Yeah. Okay. So you want to make him mad. That would do it. Hey, you know why you're there? Because you're sloppy. You messed up. That would be mad,
God, I hope that some of the victims' families are listening. I would do that. Yeah. I would order that same knife sheath, which, by the way, he researched and ordered. I don't know what this means. COE, help me out here. It gives me uncanny valley feels. What does that mean? Uncanny.
So, like, if you watch something animated like a Pixar movie, sometimes the eyes don't look quite right. Like, it feels a little like inhuman. There's something a little funky about it. It's not. It looks realistic, but not quite realistic enough. That's what uncanny valley is. It's the difference between feeling real and feeling synthetic.
Hold on. Where's that expression come? I've never heard that in my life.
People like there was a movie called The Polar Express that came out a lot of years ago, and Tom Hanks was on it, and he just looked weird. And that's the first time I ever heard it. When people say there's the uncanny valley, that's the valley between realistic and creepy. So,
never heard of it, but that doesn't surprise me because I haven't heard of a lot of. I never heard of. I'll remember wherever I Am Not T-Pain is these days. He does. Dr. G really explains it all. Anyway, someone was called I Am Not T-Pain, and COE, I don't even remember how I pronounced that, but I had no idea that T-Pain was a rapper. So you shouldn't come to me for anything like pop culture related. But I digress. Here we go. I'm going to keep playing this out, having a great time here. Happy 4th to everybody. This is obviously a sickening topic, but a great guest on, and we're jiving here. So here we go. This is the him actually admitting to the killings coming up
this afternoon, or I guess it's this morning still. I do this to ensure that so that I am assured that you understand the nature of the charges to which I understand you're going to plead guilty, as well as the possible consequences to you of your guilty pleas. I want to make sure your plea is given voluntarily. And I want to make sure that you actually committed the crimes to which you're pleading guilty, because I don't want you to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit. If you attempt to plead guilty today, but for some reason I don't accept your plea, then it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And now, while you're standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not given before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Kohberger, just to make it
for a second, this is nothing profound, but I'm sure everybody else notices there is just something slightly odd about his body language. It doesn't feel natural, because there's just a different feeling when your average person stands up, where they place their hands. There's subtle things that he does that just feel a little bit awkward. He's just sort of an awkward guy.
Yeah, for sure. His I think this is an older shirt too, because
Hmm.
I don't know if it dry. Like his shirt's a little short. Everything about him is awkward. We'll watch this. We'll watch the stand up. Yeah, it's like it's almost Dr. G. Correct me if I'm wrong. That he knows that the world is looking at him. He's an awkward dude to begin with, and that's just
Yeah.
making him extra awkward because he wants to do it the right way.
Right.
Which anyone else who's standing up, you just stand up, right?
That's
But he's
exactly right.
thinking,
Yeah, I think he's overthinking it because he wants to be in control, and it makes him feel awkward because he doesn't know what to do.
yeah, it's like he knows this is going to become like a famous piece of video here. So he's like, I got to stand up the right way.
Yeah.
But what the putz doesn't understand is he's going to go into a life of ignominy where no one is going to remember him. My StreamYard keeps doing something really weird. So just forewarning everybody. Here we go. So this is Bryan Kohberger standing back up. We'll keep rolling it.
Possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. And now while you're standing, actually,
Like right there too, I just noticed I'm becoming a body language expert. He was almost going to put his hands in his, like he didn't know what to do with his
Yeah,
hands. It was
exactly
almost like
right.
he was going to put him in his pocket. If we go
And I
back.
wonder if that's because he's aware that his sleeves are too short, and he's not sure if like people are going to notice that because his sleeves are about 3 inches too short. So it's just the whole thing. It feels a little off. It's just not quite right.
Yeah, very quick story. This is not political. I personally was not a huge fan. Not politically. I'm talking as a human being, but I used to work with Tucker Carlson. As we all know, he's worth gobs of money. But for whatever reason, every day at work, he would wear pants that were 5 inches too short for him. Literally 5 inches too short, which we call high waters. So this is reminding me of
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson, except with the sleeves. He's got high water sleeves here.
Yeah.
Tucker, go out and buy new pants, you putz. You're free. You're out in the world. You can afford them. Kohberger, you're stuck with short sleeves. Here we go.
it is possible that your statements today could be used against you later at trial. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Right
Now,
there,
while you're
there's almo-
standing, actually, why don't you take the oath from the clerk?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give in the matter not in before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Kohberger, just to make it easier, you don't need to stand when you speak to me. I appreciate the sign of respect, but for convenience, you can remain seated.
Even the Dr. G, even the yes was like he shouted yes. Like he was like, yes. Like
Yep.
was that awkward? I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it is. And even when he's and you'll hear him when he says guilty, like when he's acknowledging his guilt, he's very intense with some of these things, and he's very precise. When you see other videos of him talking, sometimes he over articulates. And so I think the way that he expresses, whether that's something that's related to being on the spectrum, whether if he actually is, or it's because he's a psychopath, like there are things that he does that are highly controlled and unusual when it comes to the way he expresses himself verbally.
Yeah. Here, this came up the other day.
Mhm.
Little known fact: Ted Bundy got a permanent stay of execution July 2nd. This is the day this happened. BK also July 2nd. What are the odds? That's got to be coincidence, right, Dr. G?
I would think so. Yeah, I don't think the court was going out of their way to help him with his
Right.
Bundy narrative, but that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. From Mr. Blue Sky, robots can be very endearing in its simple roboticness. The closer you get to realistic, you first have to go through the uncanny valley. It's the almost realistic that creeps us out. Care to comment on that?
No, I think he's just explaining what uncanny valley really means. That's a better explanation of it. So yeah, I agree with that.
There you go. All right. So here we go. We're going to keep playing.
All right. Before I start asking you questions today, have you consumed substantive questions? Let me ask you, have you consumed any alcohol, drug, or other intoxicating substance that would impair your ability to understand or exercise reasonable judgment?
No.
You feel like you are thinking clearly today?
Yes.
All right. I want you to understand what the possible penalties are for each of the crimes to which I understand you're going to offer a guilty plea today. They include on count one, the burglary, a fine of up to $50,000 and a period of incarceration of up to 10 years in the state penitentiary. You may be required to pay restitution to any victims of the crime. Count 2, 3, 4, and 5 for first-degree murder. The consequences include a fine of up to $50,000, a period of incarceration of life imprisonment, which is a requirement of a sentence that it be a life sentence with a mandatory minimum sentence of at least 10 years on each of those counts. In addition, you would be potentially responsible for a fine of up to $5,000 to each of the victims of your crime, to be enforced in the form of a civil judgment, to operate as additional punishment. This is in excess of any restitution or fines that the court could order.
Can you pause for just one second?
And again,
And I know that the quality I know is not great, but I don't think he has blinked maybe more than once this entire time. Like his blink rate is remarkably slow, which is something we see research shows that psychopaths blink less than your average people. So
Why is that? Why is that?
probably because they're in their brains, they're like predators, like they're constantly observing everything. And so and plus blinking, for those of us, when we feel stress, we blink faster. So when you're not feeling any of that, I would assume that's connected with you just not needing to blink as often. So, and some of them don't, maybe somewhat less sensitive. They don't feel things as immediately as we do. Sometimes they don't feel pain as strongly as we do. So they might not feel when their eyes are drying up slightly. Maybe they're less sensitive to that, so they do it less. I'm sure there's a number of reasons it could be, but I know that they do in fact blink less. So
I just had a very random thought, which I usually do. Markless Sky here, another 10 memberships. Thank you very much. It's very generous. Our best guest, Scott Duffy, was just consulted on a show that's coming out in the fall with a very, very famous actor who's playing an FBI agent. He's an FBI agent. But Dr. G, guys like what's his name? And now, of course, I'm blank. Who's the guy that played Anthony Hopkins, who played Hannibal Lecter? These people, the actors who are playing these killers, should consult Dr. G. Dr. G should be getting the big bucks to tell these actors how to play killers, because Dr. G knows exactly what is going on. COE, we got to that comment already. Look at COE. It's already Friday in her eyes. That AI shark video you shared a few was uncanny valley. Where Dr. G, what's going to happen now in the world where people don't know? By the way, I'll finish my thought. They don't know the difference between AI and reality. How's that going to screw us up even more?
It's going to screw up everything. It is going to be a complete it is going to have such an incredibly profound effect on everything, and I'm here for it. It's kind of interesting, but it's weird.
That's the Space Coast is talking about. There was a video you probably saw. It was like people in a rowboat with a giant great white that jumped out. Of course, I thought it was real, and then Space Coast is like, "You're an idiot. It's all AI," and the camera was perfect. Like no one flinched. So that was probably the telltale sign. But by the way, I'm always plugging Netflix shows. I don't know why, for free. But last night we were watching. There's a show now called The Shark Whisperer. This woman, her name is Ocean something. We only watched a quarter of the first episode before we both fell asleep. But Dr. G, let me digress for a moment.
Yeah.
What is going on with a person that not just enjoys, it's her life's passion to swim with sharks? She goes in and swims with great whites. She's so into it. She grew up in Hawaii. Her name is literally Ocean. She taught herself to free dive. She can hold her breath for 6 minutes and 34 seconds. But is she crazier than Bryan Kohberger?
It probably is that her estimation of how much danger there is that it's not very dangerous. So I would feel like it was dangerous, but I don't know enough about it to know whether or not it would truly be dangerous or not. She may be very well informed on it. Just feels like she has more control, or she may feel that she has control over those situations. So you don't have to be nuts to do that. It could just be that she feels like she's very well informed and she'll be fine. Whether or not that's true, I guess we'll find out. But if she hasn't been hurt yet, maybe she's onto something. Maybe she knows what she's doing.
By the way, if this docuseries ends with her being bitten in half, don't tell us, because I don't want the spoiler alert. But look at the COE, smart as she is, with this comment. She can hold her breath underwater for 6 minutes, the same way Kohberger cannot blink for several minutes. Fascinating COE. I didn't know you had the psychology inside of you. And I have to take this comment. I did not pay him to say this. Joel, you're looking more handsome than ever. Where have you been, Adam Bluefire? I feel like it's been a year since you've been here. We miss you. Come back, and thank you for that very kind compliment. This is what I get after doing 4 shows a day for a week. Someone just said that sharks are not predators. Well, I don't know. I feel like people are getting body parts bitten off all the time. I love sharks. Used to dive with them years ago. Anytime I have an opportunity to tell my kids a horrific shark story, I do, because I don't want them. We live by the ocean, and I don't want them getting too comfortable in there. So I try to instill the fear of God into them. All right, here we go. Enough with the sharks, but we like to digress at STS.
And you may be required to pay restitution to the victims of the crime. You would be required to provide, as to counts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, a DNA sample and a right thumbprint impression, and potentially pay for analysis of those samples. You would lose any right to possess, purchase, or carry a firearm, the right to serve on jury duty, the right to hold public office, and the right to vote. Do you understand the charges and all those possible consequences?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, based on the state's proffer, and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
I'm going to stop it right there. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Dr. G.
So there's a couple of things we're seeing. One is you see he leans forward as he says guilty. It may be, I don't see a microphone in front of him, but whatever it is, the idea is that when we move towards something, it's that tends to be a positive thing. So in some ways, I think that he wants people to know that he's guilty. He obviously doesn't want to go to prison, but I do think that he likes the idea. It makes him feel powerful for people to actually know, and for him to get to say, I did this. He also says it loudly and precisely. He's looking at the judge very directly when he says it. And what you're not seeing is, I want you to, when he's being asked these things, there are mental images of what he did probably going on in his mind right now. He's probably going back to that, because when you say, did you do this? It's going to make you think and feel something. Just watching, I'm serious here, just watching him in court, like I catch my hands like on top of each other in my lap, like I tend to sit in court, just because it's like, it's automatic. Like you're taken back to stuff when you talk about it or when you see it. For your average person, if you reminded them of something that happened when they were a kid that was embarrassing, they'll like have to like calm themselves down, or they'll move or something. Like there'll be a physical reaction. He's got zero reaction to this, other than accepting what he did, and I think in a way that makes him feel good.
Yeah, Dr. G, James Patterson, the famous writer, has a book coming out. There's an Amazon docuseries. Are these the things that when he lays down in his little crappy bed in prison that he's going to take joy in?
Probably. Yeah. It's BTK has been brought up a few times, comparing the two of them, and he loves it. Like when people talk about him, it's the greatest thing ever to him. So I'm sure it'll be the same way. And hopefully, because once this saga's over, I think he might be surprised at how little people will care in a few years. There'll still be, it'll be talked about here and there, but nothing like a lot of these serial killers, so to speak.
Yeah, especially in today's world where the news cycles are shorter and shorter and shorter. But thanks to Space Coast for this. I'll take us back just a hair here so we can see what we're talking about.
Based on the state's proffer, and importantly, based upon defendant's explicit admission to committing these crimes, the court finds there is a factual basis. Therefore, with respect to count 1, burglary, felony, how do you plead, Mr. Kohberger, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 2, murder in the first degree, as it relates to the murder of Madison Mogen, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 3, as it relates to murder in the first degree for the murder of Kaylee Goncalves, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 4, the first degree murder of Xana Kernoodle, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
As to count 5, the first degree murder of Ethan Chapin, a human being, how do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Right. The court will find that the defendant understands the nature of the charges and each offense and the possible consequences to him of his guilty plea. The court finds that there is a factual basis for the plea, and finds the defendant believes the plea to be in his best interest. I find that the plea was given freely, voluntarily, and was intelligently made. I accept the plea. I direct that it be entered. I'll continue the matter for sentencing in this case. I think it was mentioned on the call Monday afternoon, the defense wishes to waive.
That's it for that. Dr. G, the sentencing is coming up. I have a ticket to go. Of course, Stefan Stern's trial is at the exact same time, so I'm figuring that out right now. But what is his attitude ahead of the sentencing? Is he sitting there salivating in jail, so excited for this that he knows he is going to be the focus of this long day that could bleed into 2 days?
Probably. The idea that with all the victim impact statements and all that, I really think that for people to understand how much he's going to love that is going to be very disappointing for them. Like it is not, there's no amount of rubbing his nose in what he did that is going to make him feel an ounce of remorse or bad about it, or to see families cry like that. That's why he does this stuff. He would probably prefer to do it from afar, but having a front row seat is probably just fine to him in that sense. So I kind of hate the idea. I think that they need to say their piece. I think it's important that they do. I absolutely think they should, but I hate the fact that he's going to love it. You know?
Yeah. Markless Sky is back here. Dr. G, do you think Kohberger will sing to the media after incarceration? People are going to try to get interviews. They're going to want to talk to him. Is he going to? I don't know that he's going to be allowed to. It's going to be up to the prison, not him. But given the opportunity in a quote unquote, in his perfect world, if he could say yes to everyone, would he?
He wouldn't provide anything meaningful if he did. So he might do some interviews, but he's never going to tell you what he was actually thinking and feeling. He would feel far too weak to tell you that. So if he was described fantasies that he had or obsessions that he had, I just think that it would make him not feel powerful anymore. So I think that it could be that he gives interviews or that he would be willing to do that. But he ahead of time, he would probably set very specific parameters, and you would never get a true and honest picture of why he did what he did, or what he was thinking about and those kinds of things. So we'll never find any real insight into any of this.
Why not? Like, if these guys get off, why don't they give you the honest answer? Because they want to leave mystery there.
Why would they? What benefit is it to give you the honest answer? Like Ted Bundy, for example, during his final interview was with it was about him converting before he died, and why like adult films are the reason that he became a killer and all this stuff. That's what he blamed it on, because that's what the interviewer wanted, and he thought he could get a stay of execution. It served a purpose. So he made up so much stuff. It was so much crap in that. He lied so much, and it was all because these people like to manipulate. That's part of their MO. They love to manipulate people. So if he can have an interview, has zero reason to lie, but can lie the whole time and get away with it, that's exciting. That's fun. It is fun to get away with lying for people like that. So there's just no reason to tell the truth. Why would he?
Yeah, it's so fascinating to me. What are the chances he's going to have the opportunity that he speaks at his sentencing? What do you think?
I think he will speak as much as he's required to. I think he'll answer questions very directly and very precisely if the judge asks something of him, but I don't think that he'll have much to say on his own recognizance unless there's some manipulative, unless there's something in there that he feels that can hurt people. If he feels he can affect people in some way, so maybe he'll have written a paragraph. I would be shocked if it doesn't include things that were pretty ugly that appear not nice on the surface.
Yeah. So what are the chances we hear the following? Mr. Goncalves, Mr. Mrs. Mogen, I'm so sorry for what I did. I'm so sorry I killed your child. I had a bad day. What are the chances we hear him show any kind of empathy, remorse, or say he's sorry?
Depends on what his attorney said that he needs to do. That's what I think it is. If that's part of the requirement of this is that he needs to say that he needs to say something or make a statement on it, then he might. But there's going to be nothing that feels anything other than superficial. So he might say it. It just depends on what people are telling him to do. I don't think that if you were to say, okay, do whatever you want, we're going to leave you alone, come up with your own thing. Talk about how you really feel, that he's going to say anything of value.
Yeah. Our friend Nikki Cudds, whose birthday was this week, need to know, was he born like this? It's always a nature versus nurture. Does he have an ego? It seems like he has a huge ego, but born this way, or
yes,
became this way?
Born this way. No, born this way. They're all these people are born this way. Like, despite the fact, I always have people arguing with me that people like Jeffrey Dahmer isn't a psychopath and this and that. Just there's ridiculous stuff people say all the time. Yes, these folks are born this way. Everybody with a personality disorder is born that way. It's controversial, but there's great research to prove that it's true. So Yeah, this was whether he was a CEO and abusing people underneath him, or whether he was a serial killer, or the position he's in now, like this was going to express itself in one way or another.
Wow, that's kind of scary that you could
Yeah.
create that kind of devil spawn. COE, once again, I'm unable to scroll down. Do you want to pull up the I don't know, StreamYard just yeah, pull up the close-ups, and also let's pull up the traffic stop, CO. Do you have the Pullman traffic stop? Let's pull that up. I can't control it, COE. I can't get down there for some reason in the way the new configuration is. Let's play this. COE, you're gonna have to start and stop. This is when he gets pulled over in Pullman, Washington.
This was a month before the murders.
Yeah, play it out, COE.
Hi, I'm Officer Langus. Stops being audio and video recorded. I think you know why I stopped you. You ran the red light.
What actually happened was I was stuck in the middle of the intersection.
Yeah,
so
I was behind you the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So technically, you're not supposed to enter the intersection at all for that reason, because if the light turns red, then you're stuck in the intersection, and then you run the red light. So that's the reason I stopped you. Do you have your license on you?
Do you know the entrance to Johnson, that street?
Do you have the registration and insurance?
Do you remember where you pointed to when yeah, so if like you know that light
Let me just get this for you out.
just before it,
You what?
I'm just gonna get this out for you.
Okay.
that street. What?
Dr. G, how nervous is he knowing that this is a month after? Is he worried that
providing commentary while we're watching? I don't always have to say
So
stop.
can you-
Sorry,
yeah.
what you're saying?
COE, stop it for 1 sec. Sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
Does he have any? Is he nervous at all in this stop that she knows? Like he doesn't know what she knows, and this is after the murder. So
No, this is before the murders. The next.
oh, that's
week.
before. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're going to see, he looks at the camera a lot. You'll notice very quick glances at the camera because he's definitely planning it at this point. He's probably been obsessing over and planning murder for years or wanting to do it. So if he's only a month away, he's definitely in the planning phase of this right now. So the more he notices the camera, you're going to notice that his body language shifts a little bit. His demeanor shifts a little bit. The more he starts processing and realizing I'm on camera, like people are looking at me right now, or people could go back and look at me. So you're going to see him wanting to be a little bit more invisible, even though he's a little bit challenging, but not like he's not horrible, but he's challenging at first. And you can see that change a little bit as we go, probably because he's realizing, he wants to stay under the radar as much as possible.
Yeah. All right, let's play it out. Thank you for the super chat there. COE, let her rip.
When you're stuck in the intersection, you have to make the left. So what would the appropriate thing for me to have done?
Not-
just
You're
back up in
not
that
supposed to
situation?
block an intersection like that in Washington. So
We'll
just
keep it
by
going, but you can
blocking the
hear
intersection. That
tension in his voice. You can hear like that he's feeling. You can hear his mouth is dry when he's saying this. Like he's that when he being that out of control in this situation is clearly bothering him. Not that anybody likes getting pulled over, but
Yeah.
he's really taking this seriously.
Wow. Mark, before you play it, COE, real quick, Markless Sky here with another super chat. Very generous. The big winners are some of the witnesses who no longer need to testify. I wish that they can find peace. I can't fathom 100%, including the obviously the surviving roommate. So let her play, COE.
that's technically a ticketable violation, and then you're running a red light, so it's another ticketable offense. So you're not supposed to proceed into the intersection until you can go, because a lot of people do what you just did, right? Is like you're sitting in the intersection waiting, and then turns, and then you're blocking. So
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn.
Mhm.
So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
oh
Did you see that?
no,
Okay, pause it for
I
a
feel
second.
like right before I made the turn.
So you hear how he said, "Did you see that?" He's the kind of guy who's going to gather information. This shows the way that he thinks about and approaches things. So he's asking her a question, throwing in a question. He's talking to her, then throwing in a question at the very end to gather what information she knows. Criminals do this all the time. Actually, you watch interrogations; they will
Really?
subtly try to figure out what their interrogator knows. Except this is before the murders happened, but even just approaching something like a traffic stop, he's gathering information to try to figure out how he can how he can get out of this. It shows how calculated he is. And
Yeah,
you'll
and-
also notice. Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, look at his eyes now. He's like looking off into the distance. Is he trying to collect a thought there to like figure out what else he needs to know?
Probably. He's probably, but you'll notice that there's no emotion on his face, really. Like his
Yeah.
forehead's not showing anything. His face shows very little. You can hear it in his voice, but it shows he has a lot of control over the emotions that he has, and he probably doesn't experience a ton of them, other than right now. I would imagine an intense amount of anger because he's been pulled over.
Let me ask you this: like, if he was like, if this happened in a secure, closed setting where he could get away with it, would he have tried to kill this person if he wasn't? I'm just saying, like, is this kind of thing that would have enraged him so much that he could have snapped?
I think he's too calculated for that. I think he wants them to be the perfect murders. So I think that even if maybe he would have plotted against this person and tried to get them later, but I think as far as I think people like him are very impulsive, but not typically in that way, unless it was like what happened where it was in the midst of already the commission of a crime.
Wow, this is so wild. It's
Yeah.
crazy. COE letter play.
And there was someone who like, made a right. They didn't have their signal on, so I wasn't sure if they were just waiting.
Yeah, so I would just advise just don't enter the intersection until you can go, so you don't get stuck. Let's see.
But in that situation, the best thing to do then would be back up. And not.
I don't know if there's a best thing to do in that situation, because you're either going to back up into somebody or you're going to run a red light. So, or you're going to be sitting in an intersection.
Yeah.
There's not really a great option there.
Yeah, I was just slightly into the crosswalk, so where I'm from Pennsylvania, we actually don't have like crosswalks.
Oh,
so even if you're kind of slightly, there's a little bit more leeway as well. Like there are a few lines. Like there's one white line and there's another one in front. Like there's like a certain margin from which you can actually.
So I know this may sound like a little bit of a stretch, but this is true. You can hear him trying to explain why it happened. This is exactly what you hear people that commit much worse crimes. It's the exact same thing, which is when they get caught. Well, here's why it happened. Let me give you an explanation, and it's always something that has to do with. Well, it's not really my fault. I didn't know, or this, that, or whatever it is, or it was my parents were nice to me, and I had, it's not my fault I did this. There's always some reason. So it's interesting to see him already in this pattern, even for a small traffic citation.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And this police officer knows something's off with this guy. I mean, not to the point of arresting him or anything, but she just knows there's something for sure off with him.
And you'll notice he's not looking at her very much. He's been looking away from her a lot, which is very unusual for him. We see him stare people down, and it could be a woman in authority standing over him makes him very uncomfortable.
Wow, this is wild. Let's keep going here. So it's creepy as hell.
Yeah. So I know laws vary state to state, but there is a law
See, now
in
he's
Washington
looking at the camera.
for blocking an intersection like that, proceeding through when you don't when you're just stalling. I forget the actual verbiage. I can find it for you, but it's like stalling, blocking an intersection.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to.
Oh no, yeah, I can
not
find
like
it for you.
disagreeing with
Yeah.
anything.
1 second.
I would have arrested him for murder here, even though he didn't commit the crime yet.
I don't see Pennsylvania registration like at all. Okay, let's see. Expires November 22nd or 2022. Okay. And
Yeah, one of those is actually.
yeah, okay, that looks good. I'll hand that back to you. I'm just gonna go check your info. I'll try to find that RCW, the law for you, and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, do you think she goes and gets the law for him? Is he the kind of guy that's actually reading it? Like, is he going to go and read that and understand it?
Probably. Yeah. Some people are like that,
Yeah.
So for me, about, no. So I would guess that, he probably is the kind of guy that would waste the time to go fight a $15 ticket just because he doesn't want to feel out of control, so.
Yeah. Let's keep playing it for a second while there's no audio, and we're going to wrap in a few minutes. So STS Nation, now's your chance. If you have questions for Dr. G, either in the form of a super chat, which it'll definitely stick out, or you can put in those triple Qs. You can drop the triple Qs, and I will scroll down to the bottom of the chat. We'll get a few more questions, and then we will all go enjoy the 4th of July. Yes, he likes policy.
What we could, and I'm not trying to tell you what videos to show. We can go ahead and skip to the next video if you want the one after, because the body language is so different in that. Where he doesn't do a lot different the rest of this video, but there's another video.
The one when he's driving home to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, And that's
COE, do we have that? Yeah.
I think that's about 2 weeks after the murders, or a month. I can't remember the exact amount of time, but it's a little bit after the murders, and his body language is very different then.
All right, so here we go. This is after the murders. I think the COE is pulling it up. I can't get to it. I don't know what's going on. With
The audio you guys aren't going to be able to.
How y'all doing today? Good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool. Where are you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU, and we're scanning early.
What's WSU?
Hold on, COE.
That is Foxy Mary.
So we're
Okay. So one of the things I want you to pay attention to is obviously how intensely he looks at the police officer. Anytime he's being spoken to, he does not take his eyes off of the officer, except for two reasons. One, when his dad talks, and every time he looks at his dad, he looks terrified, like he's going to say something that's going to continue this conversation. And two, when he looks ahead. And when you look ahead like that, we oftentimes look the direction we want to go when we're in a situation we don't want to be in. Like if you're at a party, somebody's annoying you, you're going to be looking at the door to get away. Like we automatically do that. You're going to see him looking ahead a lot because he wants to get the hell out of here. But it's so different than his body language was during the other traffic interaction. But you'll see when his dad talks, he really he looks very alert and he is looking at everything.
Real quick, there were 2 traffic stops within 20 minutes. Some people thought the FBI was tailing him. They swear that they were not, and these were 2 random stops, which is super unlucky. That's why he wanted to get away. Shannon, we addressed this. What would have to be said in the victim impact statement? Anything that would eliminate his control.
Yeah. So remind him that he's screwed up. That's what we get under his skin. You messed up, Brian. That's why you're going to prison the rest of your life.
Yeah. And Mark here says he chose a female defense. Was he lucky to get a female police officer? I don't know.
I think he was unlucky. I think it bothered him, actually.
Yeah, interesting. All right, let's let this play out. All right, let's let this play out.
good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. He was right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool. Where are you headed?
Well, we're coming from WSU, and we're scanning early.
What's WSU?
University, basically.
He keeps looking forward. He just keeps wanting to get the hell out of there.
That is Foxy Mary.
So we're okay. I'm having a hard time hearing.
Stop it for a second. What do you make of the father? Look, this guy's not been charged with anything, but are there people out there who say that he knew and that's why he went to get him? Yeah, there are a lot of people who say that. I think we have to give him the benefit of the doubt unless something happens here. But what do you make of the father's behavior?
The father looks like a normal person during a traffic stop who's pretty calm, trying to be friendly. I would be shocked if the father knew or suspected anything right here. I do not think he did. I really don't. I think he just thought this was just being pulled over and that was it. He looks pretty chill.
There you go. There you go. And I'm not trying to incriminate anybody. It's just that is what people are saying. Ooh, this is weird. Very weird. Look at this. This is a weird comment, but very, I don't know, interesting. Strawberry wine. Car registration expires 11/22/22. Just a coincidence that it is the same address on King Road, 1122 King Road. Weird.
Huh. And what day did the murders occur?
11/19.
19. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Weird. Who knows? All right. Let's let it play out here. All right. Let's let it play out here.
Because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University? Yeah. And you're going where? Oh.
We're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're slightly punched because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
Hours to drive. Well, almost a day.
Okay. And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
Yeah, there was a mass shooting and everything. We don't know.
Where?
He's scared right now. We're afraid right now.
GOE, stop it.
I mean,
Go
there's
ahead.
so much fear in his eyes right now. Like that's if because you think about it, he tries to take as someone who's predatorial, he really is going to be looking to collect as much information as possible. So right now, when he feels like he's being cornered, you're seeing real fear in his eyes. Like I said, when his dad talks, you'll see him look over really quickly, like he is trying to take in everything because he wants to be ready, not to hurt anybody. That's not what I think his goal would be, but just to try to be on point and be thinking about what do I need to do to escape this situation. So he's trying to digest as much information as quickly as possible.
This is why. Hold on. Joel knows the date. It's just been a lot. Didn't I say it's November 13th, right? 2022. Isn't that what it is? What did I say?
He said 19th, but 13th. But yeah. Anyway.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's been a long week. November 13th. Yeah, we've been covering it since.
Interesting.
Well, it's horrifying because he's going to university. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh.
He was PhD.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that incident. Just yesterday, or?
No, this happened this morning.
Hey,
Hold it, COE.
Okay, so what you're seeing now, Kohberger's starting to loosen up. I think he feels like he is past the point of danger now. So he's starting to tell himself, okay, now this is just a traffic stop. Now you're seeing him open up a little bit. Now they're having a conversation about what happened over at WSU or whatever it was. And so now at this point, I think he believes that he's going to get away from this and he's not getting ready to get arrested. I really think he wasn't sure before. And that's because one of the first things he said, and you don't need to go back for this, but he was like, what's the problem or what happened or something like that. Like he was assessing for information the second he got pulled over.
His birthday, 11/22 King Road. That's very interesting. Why did he say, was anyone, this is a question he apparently asked when he's arrested. Was anyone else arrested when he was first arrested? Did he think his father was arrested? What do you think, Dr. G?
No, because he was probably trying to figure out if he could pin it on somebody else. Are there other suspects? That's a normal thing to ask. Well, so I don't take anything. That's meaningless to me other than he's just trying to figure out, has anybody else been arrested for this? Because if so, what angle can I start to, like I said, information gathering. Who else was arrested? Because if they say it was a neighbor, I'm going to come up with a really good reason why I saw the neighbor do it or whatever it is. So this is not suspicious. He's just trying to gather information.
Do you think here, somewhere in the back of his mind, he's saying to himself, I can't believe I forgot the knife sheath. I can't believe I forgot the knife sheath. I can't believe I freaking forgot the knife sheath. Like, is he obsessed over that at this point?
That will haunt him for the rest of his life. Yes, 100%.
Wow. COE, let her play. COE, let her play.
Still wrapping it up for investigating. I'm not sure there's two shooters because they did shoot somebody.
Let's see.
And then you didn't know about that actually. They were there, they were shooting out of the window or something.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay? All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
That's it. That's traffic stop. I'm gonna sort of say a short, long goodbye to Dr. G. And in that time, if you have any questions, I'm at the bottom of the chat. You can put in triple Qs, super chat, whatever you want. We'll see what questions remain. Anna Lissette here has a question. I want to know why he seemed to start stalking the house in July, soon after he relocated in the West. What attracted him to the house right after he arrived? What do you think, Dr. G? And you said he was planning it, right?
Oh, sure. He probably just saw somebody that he thought was attractive and wanted to dominate her. Something as simple as that. I mean, it's a lot of these serial killers will pick. It doesn't take much for them to choose their victims. It's just because they've decided, I want control over that. That's what I want. Just like if you saw an item that you wanted, they don't see people as human beings. They see them as things. What kind of pleasure or power can I feel from that person right there? When I look at that person, that makes me feel like I want power. Therefore, now it's time to start planning doing something horrible. I mean, what causes these people to attract to a place or a person? It doesn't take much. There's a reason, but it's probably less profound than anybody would think.
This is a comment. You can't see it, but I promise you it's true. That warms my heart. Best show in true crime. Great questions and best answers. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. CJ, Dr. G, do you think given his cold demeanor in court, he may unalive himself for control? He's terrified of death, though.
Yeah, I think there's an exceptionally low likelihood of that. So I'd say no. I wouldn't be. It hasn't even crossed my mind, honestly.
Look at this. The hunter is now hunted for only a few minutes. Wild. I asked Dr. What is this here? Dr. G, does it ever pay to watch these types of videos of criminals without the sound? Interesting. Do you gain different? Very interesting question. Great question.
Yeah, not from it just depends how many hours you got in the day. I mean, if you want, you can, but I just might have to the sound on. I mean, I have watched videos where you couldn't hear what was going on or where people wanted me to talk about just the body language, and you can, but talking gives you additional information. So, either way is fine, but I prefer to add, volume.
Dr. G, absolutely brilliant. I would agree. A brilliant mind, not a twisted, demented mind like this guy. Markless guy. How could this guy enter the home just after witnessing a food delivery? Dr. G, thoughts on that? He's just taking risks.
Well, when people deliver food, the delivery driver leaves. So, I mean, it makes sense that you go, okay, well, that's done. So now that I know they've ordered food, I don't have to worry about the food driver coming in or whatever. I mean, like, these people are impulsive, and despite the fact that they're meticulously planned, I'm sure, that doesn't surprise me, actually.
And there is a field of numerology where people have associations with numbers. Dr. G, do you think all the numerology that's been the 1122, the birthday, could it be linked to his OCD? Is that something that we could find out down the road?
So I'll try to keep this answer short, but OCD is people have obsessions and then compulsions. So in other words, they're obsessed over certain things and they do compulsions to get rid of those obsessions. OCD,
I have both.
Yeah, OCD is an anxiety disorder. He is obsessive, but he's not compulsive. I don't think he's anxious enough to be compulsive. So I don't think he actually has OCD. And usually it's people have magical thoughts that connect with things. So could he have some sort of obsession with numbers? Maybe. I think it's probably more coincidence, honestly. I think it's just, if you pay enough attention to numbers, you can make all sorts of connections with that. So it's possible that matters, but I wouldn't read too much into it.
And there you go. Ted Bundy's birthday, 2 days after Kohberger, 11/22, 11/24. We just had that COE. We just had that COE. Still love you. It's been a long week. Was he a suspect at the? No,
The second one he might have been. He might have actually been during the one with his father.
Yeah.
They may have been trying to lay eyes on him. So that I've heard people talk about that.
Yeah, well, the FBI, people thought it was the FBI because he was stopped twice within 20 minutes on that same highway, and the FBI swears that it wasn't. But they're never. I was going to say something like as a joke that the FBI are like serial killers, never going to admit it, but they're not like serial killers. But they would not admit it because it's part of the investigation. So they say that it had nothing to do with this, but who knows, really. Dr. G, we had talked about this a little bit at the beginning. Do you think he committed prior acts such as SA, burglary, or worse, wasn't caught? So maybe didn't kill somebody, but do you think he did other things, smaller?
Well, we do tend to see escalations when it comes to people that do things like this. We do tend to see escalating behavior. Whether it was those things, I don't know. It's possible. But also he's unique in the sense that he's educated, and he may have been waiting to commit the perfect crime. I mean, obviously, if he's doing heroin, he's having to buy it from somebody. So there's some degree of crimes going on, so he has done something. As far as those other things, I don't know. I think it's likely he may have committed crimes, but I don't know if he committed any crimes against other people up to this point.
There was this. I don't know if it was ever corroborated, but there was a story right at the time of the murders that just a few weeks prior, a dog was like skinned or a cat was skinned alive.
It wouldn't surprise
me.
me.
Do you think that he was hurting animals potentially?
He could have been. The parts of us that when we look at animals, we feel good. They look cute to us or whatever. Like the people like this don't feel that. They just the ability to look at something as just a thing, a living being, or a living creature as just a thing, and to have no regard for its feeling, and to enjoy the idea of something living suffering, to genuinely feel glee and excitement from the suffering of something living is so exquisitely bizarre that most of us can't relate to it, but they feel it. Yeah. So could he have done that? Sure. I don't know if he did hurt animals, but it wouldn't have affected him to do it other than he might have enjoyed it.
Fred and Ethel, I know you're listening because the COE has this on blast in the house. I will comfort you when I get home. This sick bastard. That's what I cannot handle when people hurt animals. There's a comment here. I don't even want to bring it up, but it has to do with the way he killed these people.
Yeah.
And there's been talk about certain types of mutilation. Do you think, and these are the things that we're going to be spared without a trial, thankfully, but do you think we're going to find out, Dr. G, down the road that he did certain things in the manner that he killed them, like mutilation wise? Do you think that there was a sick pleasure, I guess, and therefore
sure.
a specific kind of mutilation?
Probably. I mean, as I said, the reason he left the knife sheath, I think, is out of sheer excitement. So sure, there probably is some ritualistic aspect, and I don't mean that in like a some sort of like spiritual way, but I'm sure he had his own sort of rituals that he had planned. And like I said, if it was meticulous, I'm sure he had certain ways he wanted to do it. So yeah, there probably were specifics. Frankly, I hope we never find out. I would just assume we not know what he did, because that gives him more power, because then he'll say like, oh, look, that was my signature. I did this or whatever. I know we know a little bit. I think it's just fine if we never find out.
Yeah, like like obviously like bind, torture, kill. That was his whole thing: bind, torture, and kill. What about the kind of voyeuristic aspect? ASAP Lizzie here, and just a couple more questions, and we're going to wrap it. But definitely peeping Tom energy, big time. Do you agree with that? That he had a voyeur, like there was a voyeuristic aspect to all this.
That's part of the excitement for a lot of these folks, is that the voyeuristic aspect, to know that you're a predator and you see everybody else as your prey. So the idea of watching somebody going about their lives, having no idea that they're being watched, I'm sure that was very exciting to him, probably in a lot of different ways.
I actually really appreciate this comment. What the frick? STS never stops. Love from Poland. Happy birthday to America. Well, it's not Poland's birthday, but you get what I'm saying. Germany's in the house. But the COE and I joke, when you work in traditional media, like we both did, for as long as I did, you are tortured in a different way. They run you ragged. They don't pay you a lot of money, and you get conditioned to doing this stuff. So didn't even feel like that much this week, but I'm going to go home and collapse, because when you're doing news, like I used to work 36 straight hours when I was at Fox News. I would land at a scene and I would just go and go and go, and they would kind of expect that of you. COE letting us know, this will be my final question. Judah and I, that's my son, future, no pressure on him, but he's the future Lionel Messi of the world. The kid's obsessed with soccer. He will outperform Messi soon. No pressure, Judah. Judah and I are headed in the car, so I can't chat, but just wanted to thank all of you. Where are you guys going, by the way, and why did you not wait for me? I'll be done in a minute. Jersey's in the house, my home state. Dr. G, my final question. You have kids. I have kids. My child now knows a bit at 6 years old about Bryan Kohberger, Donna Adelson, Barry Morphew. Are our kids forever screwed up and scarred? I am the son of a psychiatrist and a social worker.
Yeah.
I am completely screwed up. Are our kids doomed, Dr. G, more than most kids? That is my final question.
I certainly hope not. It's I think that the idea that bad things happen and we can talk about it, we can process it, and we can say, look, that's the reality of the world, is sometimes these crazy things happen, but they're unusual. They don't happen very often. The world's still a safe place. I think being able to be open about these things is actually not a bad thing. So in all seriousness, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, as long as you're not going into too much excruciating detail. I think there's limits to how much would actually scar somebody to hear at a young age. But in general, knowing that these things are out there, I don't think is awful.
And Dr. G, finally, it is 4th of July. Any big plans today for the birthday of America?
Just going to blow a bunch of stuff up. That's all. So, yeah.
That's how they do it in Georgia. I'm afraid of fireworks, man. Are you afraid? Are you not afraid of blowing off your hand?
No, I'll light it and then throw it. Yeah, I'm an idiot. So, yeah. So if I come back next time and I've got one hand, you'll know what happened.
So that's what I'm talking about. When I was growing up, for some reason, my mom, she would always have just read an article. She'd be like, Joel, I just read an article in Newsweek about the guy who blew his hand. She always would cite an article, even though she was just making it up to scare me. So anyway, she did a good job. I'm too scared. I'm not a fireworks guy, but
I'll tell you, the ADHD is the worst part of the 4th of July, because every time I know better, I do something stupid every year. I did, like, one year I was standing, my wife still reminds me of this. My son and I were outside, and I set off a firework in front of us, and it was much bigger than I realized it was going to be. And we couldn't open the door because it would have let all the smoke in. So occasionally I do some really stupid things on the 4th. So hopefully this year I avoid that.
Thankfully, it's going to be raining here. I'm delirious at this point. They do a cool drone show where we live. That's pretty safe, other than I guess the drones crashing into each other. But have an amazing 4th of July. Dr. G, we are going to this UFC fight on the front lawn of the White House. What's the limit on our ticket purchase for this? Are you willing to go up to how much a ticket here?
There is no limit. If anybody's going, I will be there.
we might be starting we'll do a show before the UFC next year. We'll do a fundraiser for Dr. G and Joel to go to the UFC fight. I mean, can you imagine, like, I don't know, any previous president from like the early 1900s declaring that there will be a boxing match on the front lawn of the White House? It's
That's
crazy.
what my son and I said, because we're both UFC freaks. We said, this is not just a once in a lifetime. This will never happen again. The world continues to be even a remotely sane place. So we
do you think it will happen though, of a one time? Do you think he's actually going to do this next year?
I do, actually. I think it's very likely to happen. It's, I mean, you know, it sounds like there's already talks about it, and yeah. So I think we're going.
That's all. And my final question: I know most of you have no idea what we're talking about at this point, but Dustin Poirier or Max Holloway, who takes that fight?
Dustin Poirier.
Yeah,
right now.
He's at home.
Yeah.
Finals his retirement fight.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Dr. G, huge thanks. I really appreciate it. Have a great, happy 4th of July, everybody. If you're out of the country, have a happy weekend. Everyone be safe. Be careful. It's a crazy world. This is a time where crazy people try to hurt innocent people. So be safe. Best thing you can do is do what I do. Stay home, watch a movie, and do what the COE tells you. Love you, America. We'll see you next week. By the way, next week we're going to get our girls from camp. So we're live first 2 days of the week, and then we're going to have some cool recorded programming when we go to get our girls from summer camp. Love you all. See you next week.